that the ASEAN conference is on here in Australia. All the Asian nations, or the nations in the Asian region, of which of course we are one, get together to discuss all manner of topics, and one of them they have of course been talking about is climate change. So the Albanese government has put up a $2 billion fund to help these Asian nations go out and set up renewable energy, buy solar panels and wind turbines and all this sort of thing. Now, the problem here is that a lot of these Asian nations, of course, would be customers of our coal, the coal that has been propping up the government surplus. But now we say, here is $2 billion of that surplus for you to go and get renewable energy, or, you know, the bits and pieces you need to create renewable energy, which of course we don't produce any of in this country. We are giving money to Asian nations to go and buy things from other Asian nations that's of no benefit to us. Matt Canavan pointed this out exactly today when he tweeted, "How does Australia benefit from this? We produce almost no renewable energy products in Australia, so we are going to buy solar panels from China and give them to Malaysia. If we instead funded gas pipelines, at least we could make money from selling them gas over time." And as a funny addendum, you also had Thailand this week at ASEAN saying that they don't like the emissions targets that we're putting on our cars because it'll affect their car manufacturing industry. So on one hand, we've got Asian nations saying, you've got to do more about climate change, you know, we're going to sink and all this sort of stuff. Then you've got other Asian nations saying, no, wind it back, we want to sell more cars.
The amount of money that our government is throwing around, I mean, $2 billion for this investment fund. It was only in August last year, Penny Wong was in Vietnam, gave out $94.5 million for climate adaptation. In November, Anthony Albanese gave $350 million to the Pacific Climate Infrastructure Financing Partnership. We're not really sure what that is.
Nobody knows what any of these bodies do.
For this stuff.
Nobody knows what any of these bodies do. But again, it's part of our courting these countries to keep them on side. Don't be besties with China. Stick with us, please. I don't think it's actually working. Speaking of things that aren't working, we saw yesterday Dutton come out. Actually, it was the front page of today's Australian, but we talked about it last night, so it feels like yesterday here. We're ahead of the news, always, on the late debate. But he came out yesterday saying we're moving ahead with pitching nuclear energy to the Australian public. We're now looking at large nuclear reactors, not just SMRs. We're going to be looking at where we will build these. So it sounds like they're coming up with an extremely comprehensive plan to take to the next election, as opposed to simply going, hey, vote for us if you want nuclear and then we'll make it happen. No, they're taking care of the details now. And of course, Labor has done nothing but say, oh, it's really expensive, and infer that it's also very unsafe, as Bowen has said countless times. Who would want to live next door to a nuclear reactor? Personally, I'd be more than happy to. So what does he tweet today after Dutton's big announcement on the front page of The Australian? Just more fear-mongering. He says when nuclear plants face cost blowouts and multi-year delays around the world, Peter Dutton is doubling down on nuclear energy. And it's no longer just small reactors, apparently. They are making it up as they go. Well, yes, that is called planning phases, Bowen. But the fact that he shared this tweet with one example in the UK, where there has been a bit of a cost blowout and a bit of a multi-year delay, they've described it as if this is something that's unique to nuclear power plants. Do me a favour, let's all talk about snowy hydro too, shall we? Let's not pretend that cost blowouts and the timing of said finished product is unique to nuclear power plants and not renewable energy, dear Bowen. Now, we know this was, of course, a Turnbull promise. Back in 2017, we were told Snowy Hydro 2 would cost a mere $2 billion and would be finished by 2024. Well, it's 2024, and now it's costing $12 billion, actually closer to 13, and may or may not be finished by 2028. The fact that he thinks this is a strong enough argument to make is utterly laughable. We know that France has 70% of their power generated by nuclear energy. In the UK, it's 20%, which is the same as America. In the UK, it's 15%, same as Canada. The 20%ers are America, which is also the same as Russia. We have these superpowers. They're all using nuclear. And we are simply, despite having the biggest uranium deposits, third largest in the world, shipping it off to everyone, more room than you can poke a stick at to put these things in, we're simply refusing. And as far as I'm concerned, every excuse that the Labor government comes up with to diss Dutton's plan, there's no bones on it. It's just so shallow.